Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott. A few months ago, I gave you a review of the Soundcore Sleep A20 earbuds, which I really liked for a lot of reasons, which I detailed in that review. However, I was really interested to see, considering that the one thing that was lacking in those was that they were not really ANC, or active noise canceling. And so I was interested to see how Soundcore did with true active noise cancellation. And so I kind of looked through their different earbuds, and I settled on taking a look at the Liberty 3 Pro ANC buds, which I've been spending time with now for several months to get a genuine sense of how good they are as far as sound quality, how effective the ANC is, all of those things. And it just so happens that at the time where I'm filming this review, they have gone on a significant sale, and thus they're more affordable right now than what they've ever been. So it's a great time to talk about them, and how good are they? Well, first of all, let's talk about what you're getting for your money. Right now, you can get these for about $80 US. First of all, there is a lot that comes in the box. It is a premium packaging, and they say right on there, they're emphasizing the fact that there are 20 Grammy award-winning audio producers that recommend these and like them. And so obviously they're leaning pretty heavily on the marketing. Inside, you're going to find a lot of different configuration options. I mean, I've never seen so many different configuration options between the different tips for the earbuds themselves, and then also what they call their ear wings that help them to mount into the ear and to stay there secure. All of this obviously helps with some passive noise cancellation that will further then be augmented by the active noise cancellation. Now, the battery life here is rated at up to 8 hours per charge and up to 32 hours for the buds inside the charging case there. And so that tells me you have 4 full recharge cycles that are available there on that. Now, if you're using the active noise cancellation, it is important to note that that overall time does drop. So you're going to get about 6 hours per charge, and thus only about 24 hours of total sound before you need to recharge the charge case itself. And that charging process takes about 2 hours for a full 100% charge of the earbuds. Obviously, in many situations, it's going to be much less because it's very rare that you're going to run them down to 0%. The charge case itself takes about 3 hours to fully charge, and I will note that you can charge that either via USB-C, cable is included for that, but then also you can charge it via wireless. And so any kind of wireless charge thing, if you set it on there, it should light up and you should be able to charge there. Though, as is typical with wireless charging, it's going to take a little bit longer. Rather than 3 hours for a complete 0 to 100% charge, it'll take about 4 hours to accomplish that. Also, some of the specs is that you've got the Hear ID active noise cancellation. There is an Astria coaxial acoustic architecture that's a part of the actual audio design there. And then you have some various noise cancellations and noise reducing, some AI that's involved with the actual mics for using them for Zoom or for speaking into. There's actually 6 different microphones embedded between the two of them. And so you actually have some fairly intense ability to not only hear what's going on outside for the transparency mode, the noise cancellation, but then also for picking up your own voice for Zoom calls or things like that. So in terms of my actual use, just to give you a little rundown of the different ways that I've been using them. Obviously, I've been using them in traditional ways that you do earbuds for. So I've done a lot of listening to music and audiobooks, podcasts. I've used them for video playback and movies just to evaluate in a variety of different situations. I've used them while working, and so that will include using power tools, using the noise cancellation to help to protect my ears while operating like that, and then just, listening to a podcast or an audiobook while working. I've used them while running to evaluate how they did as far as sound quality, thudding, those various things that are part of that. I've used them with working in environments with a lot of background noise to see how the noise cancellation worked. I've used them for Zoom meetings, and I've even used them in my jacuzzi tub to see how well it would do for bouncing out the sound or blocking out the sound from the various jets in there. So in all of those different applications, what were the things that stood out to me? First, we'll talk about some things that I liked. One thing that really stood out to me is that the sound quality from these earbuds is really fantastic. And you can tell that these are kind of next level compared to a lot of the less expensive earbuds, and much better sound quality even than something like my wife's AirPods, for example. These are really high-end audio devices, and the sound quality is really fantastic. I found that they were really great when it came to listening to music, and obviously you have a huge amount of customization options in the Soundcore app in terms of equalization, and even doing equalization that's based on your own actual hearing, which is pretty cool. I also found that it was really fantastic in terms of the whole soundtrack and staging and presence for watching movies. Very immersive. Obviously, at this point, we're way past having any kind of Bluetooth-related lag, sync issues. All of that is fantastic. I also noted that these have better than typical range for the actual Bluetooth signal. A lot of times my phone will be on a wireless charger at my workstation, and I'll take off to do something. A lot of times I'll walk away with earbuds on, and I'm not really thinking about the fact that I'm about to disconnect from the audio source. But what I found is that I'm able to range further than what I typically would without that audio signal starting to break up. And so that stood out to me as being great. I also found and appreciated the fact that these have dual connection modes. So for example, I could be connected both to my iPhone, but then also to my iPad for, maybe one for audio, the other for video content. And rather than having to disconnect one to use it on the other, something that I've had to do many times in the past with previous earbuds, I can be connected to both of them simultaneously. And so you can pretty much just switch back and forth between whatever you're wanting. Whatever has an active audio source is the one that you're going to hear in your ears. So that's pretty cool as well. I also found that the active noise cancellation is really well executed here. There's obviously varying degrees of how effective these systems are, but there are 3 or 4 modes you can access. And I say 3 or 4 because you can choose different variations of some modes. And so you have the option of having just a full and complete noise cancellation to where, and that tends to be a very self-sustained sound stage. You also have the ability to have one that's custom for your own hearing. And so you'll actually take a hearing test, which is interesting to go through. It showed me that at 48, I'm not hearing everything perfectly at this point. And so that was a little bit discouraging, but also I was really appreciated the fact of how effective it was in evaluating what frequencies that you're hearing well, what frequencies need some boosting. And so anyway, I found that that mode actually works quite well. And then there is a transparency mode which allows you to have the environmental sounds amplified some as well. So it's really useful if you're you're watching something, for example, but also you might have someone coming in to have a conversation with you. And so I just found that transparency mode has been helpful in mitigating some conflict with my wife, who when she speaks to me, she wants me to hear and she wants me to respond. And so having that transparency mode on there has been useful for that. I really like the fact that I actually was effective in being able to watch video content while in our jacuzzi tub. And so I actually could block out a lot of the sound of the jets and get a much more effective soundstage without having to have the volume absolutely cranked. So better for my hearing and just more productive in terms of being able to do that. While running, I found that the thudding that comes through with your foot strikes was nicely damped here, and so they're actually quite good for running. You're able, obviously, to block out some environmental sound if that is desired, but more importantly for me while running, I'm able to listen to something, say, more like an audiobook or a podcast without the voice kind of, juddering up and down due to the footfalls. And so that is something that really, for me, either makes or breaks a pair of earbuds for running, and these actually scored quite well in that regard. I also found that, some people have gotten really good at doing Zoom meetings or things like that with having earbuds in, even if it's really blocking out environmental sounds. I'm still not 100% accustomed to the sound of the way my voice sounds in my head when doing that. And so I'm being able to set up the transparency mode to where I can still kind of hear my own voice along with hearing the other people that I'm in the meeting with, I find to be a much more engaging and to where I feel just kind of less numb and disconnected from the actual environment that I'm in. And so I enjoyed them for that. I also appreciated the overall packaging and presentation. I appreciated the fact that you can tell looking at the buds themselves that these are premium. There's accented touches of different materials that just, some chrome accenting, some various metallic accents that just look higher grade and are definitely appreciated. That even when it comes down to the case itself, it looks white maybe on camera. It's actually kind of this pearlescent color, and it reminds me of the kind of higher end paint jobs that there's a difference between a white and a pearl. That kind of tri-coat pearl on vehicles, you end up paying a lot of extra money for that paint job as opposed to just basic white. And that's kind of the comparison that I see here. It's not just white, it is kind of a pearlescent coloring. I also do appreciate the Soundcore app. I mean, when it comes to these Liberty 3 Pros, the amount of customization you can do is pretty staggering. And so you can really set things up as far as everything from the controls to the sound quality to even the behavior of the noise cancellation. And I liked being able to program specifically what modes I wanted to be enabled and how I could access those through the actual controls. Made them far more useful real time, that if I need to change to different environments, or maybe right now I'm wanting the block out sound, the next moment I want to move to transparency mode, being able to access that easily from the buds themselves I found very useful. But you set all of that up through the app itself. So a lot of things that I really like in that regard. But there were some things that I didn't love as well, and I think it's important to highlight those as well. While I love the sound quality, I love the idea that there's a lot to be able to customize here, what I didn't actually love was trying to get an overall fit that I liked. Now, as far as being able to get a secure fit, I was able to do that very, very easily. These, you have the option between the wings and the tips to get a nice secure fit in your ear. So forget any possibility of them falling out. Even while running, they stayed nice and secure. So that seems really good. But what I didn't love is that I just found consistently that over extended use, I never could find a combination that was quite comfortable for my ear. And I determined that it wasn't really the fit either of the tips or the wings themselves. It's more the bulk of the housing. And the way that it sat in there was just for my particular ear shape. It's like it took up a little bit more room in there than what my ear liked. And so that created a little bit of discomfort over time. And so, your mileage is obviously going to vary because people's ears vary so much. And while Soundcore has worked really hard to give you a lot of different options for getting a great fit, I just found that I was not able to get exactly what I liked. I also found that as far as the fit, that they stuck out of my ears a little bit more than what I liked it, and kind of at almost like an upturned angle. And so I felt a little bit like Frankenstein's monster while wearing them. Again, your mileage may vary on that. And the other thing is that I found it's a weird configuration for the storage. Now, what I appreciate is that there's lots of room in here. I doubt even with a variety of different tips, you could put even some custom tips, that you probably will never have an issue in terms of actually making them fit and them continue to charge. So that's good. But what is not so good is that it's a bit of a weird and awkward way of dropping them in there. A lot of these, because of the magnetic, it's, if they're top mounted, it's just really easy to drop, boom, it's done. In these cases, you have to rotate them to a bit of an odd angle, which feels kind of backwards, and position them to drop them on down. And even after months of using them, it doesn't feel like a fully natural motion for me to put them back in. And so, there's things that I appreciate there, but things that I don't appreciate as much. The one final thing that I'll say that is kind of the two-edged sword aspect of having a dual connection is that it can be somewhat annoying. You'll put them on, and if both your iPhone and your iPad, for example, in my case, are both within range, you get connected, and then it'll say connected again because it's actually doing dual connections. But then, for example, if I'm walking out of the house to say, go work in the yard, and I've got my iPhone on me, but obviously I'm not taking my iPad outside, I'll get as I'm listening, I'll get a disconnected sound that's going on there. And it's a little kind of disconcerting at first because it's like, why have I lost connection? But it's not losing connection to the actual device I'm listening to. It's letting me know it's a lost connection to the secondary device. Frankly, in that setting, I don't necessarily want to hear that, and so it can be a little bit disruptive, but it's just, again, it's not a true serious criticism, it's just the reality of that dual connection. And so overall, there's a lot more things that I like than things that I dislike. So my conclusion is this: the typical full price is $129 US, and compared to other premium brands, that's obviously a great value even at that price point. But the fact that right now they're currently discounted for $49, bringing the price down to $80 US, makes them a really, really strong value at that price, because these are certainly a cut above less expensive earbuds, and even the earbuds are going to compete around that price. I would say that these have a lot extra going for them. These are premium in their design, they're premium in their sound quality, they're loaded with features and customization ability. And so I would say that they're a great choice, but not if you have small, delicate ears. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call my ears small, but obviously I've got more volume on the outside and less volume on the inside. And so just if you have noted in the past that certain earbuds, if they're a little bit bigger, make your ears uncomfortable, there might be other options that are going to be better ones for you than the Liberty 3 Pro. However, if you're looking for a really premium sound and really great noise cancellation at a much more affordable price than some of the alternatives, certainly check out the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pros. They are pretty amazing. I'm Dustin Abbott, and you can look in the description down below for some linkage to where you can get either more information or purchase links if you want to buy them for yourselves. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.